Good on
Welcome
audio.
to Know Your Thrones for this is season 7, episode 6.
Yes, I'm glad you're here because I always
Beyond
forget
the
the name.
Wall. And well, I mean the name is less important than the fact that every week we have an excuse to nerd out about Game of Thrones. I
Yes.
like setting this time aside to just talk about it with other people who like watch it and are up to date on it. This is for me
decompression.
This is the best. So
This is our job.
This is this
Getting
is,
paid, motherfuckers.
This is work. So this is an awesome episode.
The pace
as
that you
well.
did that at was not in a hurry. It was
unamused.
just 1, 2.
Okay, so let's adjust John's mic down a little bit.
Only
Or all the way.
one person complained. Do you think? That
I'm
it's really
loud.
Never
I'm
mind,
loud.
never mind,
Yeah.
never
I'm
mind.
loud.
We'll-
I'll
we'll-
just move my mic away from my loud
The
fucking
important
mouth.
thing is we can be heard, so great.
move
And
away from the mic to
this
breathe.
was one hell of an episode.
Yeah.
And
all about
starring the fastest Raven in all of Westeros.
Yeah, I'm gonna call shenanigans on the writing in this episode.
I feel like they definitely made some compromises because they didn't have enough episodes left.
They're cutting too many corners.
Like there's so much that they could have shown step by step by step, and that if this was any other season, we would have seen so much more of just the little details, the getting to King's Landing. They would have been on that rock for a week, and it would have been try to survive,
or
while you're all slowly starting to death on a rock.
right,
before
or you
anything
don't
got to
write yourself into
Dragonstone.
that corner. Like you don't write yourself into the corner of my important characters are stuck on a rock. I'm not going to kill any of them. So then I have now written myself into a place where I have to have super fast travel and some Deus Ex Machina dragons show up to save the day.
Well, you expect the
Now-
dragon. I'm not going to complain about the dragon showing up.
I'm
to save
complaining
the
about the
day.
dragon.
They
I'm
should
tired
be
of the
very
dragons
fast.
fixing everything.
Now there is one
Consequences.
Note, there is one note, and part of that
There was.
is that we do talk a lot about time travel as opposed to just gaps in time. And Robert Diddley in chat notes that someone actually did the math on the speed of the Raven versus how long it would take a lake to freeze over again, and the math does check out. But we don't get a sense of that time passing because they just cut to 3 days later.
Also, why the fuck is the Hound throwing those rocks?
Because he's bored like a little fucking child.
Yeah.
Childhood is throwing rocks you shouldn't be throwing rocks at. It's throwing rocks at
It
things you
is.
shouldn't be throwing rocks at. There you go. I fucked it up.
You got it.
But you almost got there. You got close enough.
Yeah, close enough.
So
Gendry is the Flash.
Gendry,
Fucker runs.
he does run. The big thing for this episode was the Magnificent Seven. So that's I gotta remember them all here. Okay, so Gendry, and Jon, and Jorah, and Thoros of Myr, and Beric Dondarrion, and
Tormund Giantsbane.
Tormund Giantsbane, and who is...
Did you say Jorah Mormont?
I did say Jorah already.
Who's the other one?
Red shirt 1, red shirt 2,
No.
red shirt 3.
Hold on. Okay, Jon.
It's
Jorah,
the
Gendry.
two red lady people, the two Lord of Light people.
Did you say Thoros of Myr?
Hound,
Thoros and Beric,
Hound.
and the Hound, and there's
Gendry,
You didn't say,
One other
you didn't say
one.
Tormund this time.
and Tormund. Okay, there we go. So we got
Clegane,
so the Magnificent Seven set out beyond the wall conveniently with several red shirts. Now, it seemed like when we set out, like you see the wide shot of them and them walking. It looks like there are 3 red shirts with them. But I swear to God, like 8 red shirts died.
There were so many red shirts. As soon as in this episode I saw like other dudes with their faces covered, I was like, oh, those are the guys who are going to die.
It's convenient that you again write people like that in, so you don't have to kill off your main characters like you used to do in the show.
Right.
I think
Now,
they're saving all those
I
deaths for
think-
the last season.
I agree. So I have a theory on this episode versus the finale. I think this was the finale for the White Walker storyline for this season. And I think the next episode is going to be the political finale. So that's
Definitely.
going to be like Daenerys
Definitely.
and it's going to be, well, not Sansa since she sent Brienne, but it's going to be, the Starks. It's going to be the Lannisters, and they're all going to be together doing something, God knows what. So this was very much the story of the White Walkers with a little bit of Sansa Arya thrown in for good measure.
I guess they were the cutaway.
apparently I'm missing a dress rehearsal. I'm gonna need to run in just a minute here.
Okay.
But someone in chat, I wanted to point out someone in chat. I think it was Chris Burton pointed out something that really bothered me in this episode. Like when the Hound throws the rock and the undead start shambling towards him. Why don't they use the hammer to continue breaking the ice? Like I was screaming at my TV.
There's a lot of kind of annoying writing in that regard. Like if they had just frantically broke the water, because the ice kind of got too thick again.
Right.
Although if they had been there several days, I guess it had some time. But they didn't even try to recreate their little moat. Also, we learned a couple interesting things about the White Walkers this season, or this episode. One, that they apparently can't just like walk on the bottom of the lake. Because they stopped as opposed to crossing the water.
Could
if that's the
them.
case,
Well, I
if
guess
that's
they're White
the
Walkers.
case, though, how exactly did they get some giant chains? Which I don't even know where those chains
Home
came
Depot.
from. Right, the Home Depot of the North, down into the lake to retrieve Viserion.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about where the chains come from as long as you just write them in and don't worry about cutting corners.
There were some glaring loopholes. That being said, I still enjoyed the episode.
Oh yeah,
I'm
sorry.
I enjoyed it.
I
for
didn't
sure.
preface that. I enjoyed the episode. All the interaction that was before the whole climax at the end was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just all these characters that we've loved for forever finally getting to interact with each other, but yeah, some of the stuff they're like just we're gonna wink at you so that you guys will believe this can happen, just so we can continue the story.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I gotta run.
There were
Gus.
all these. Bye, Gus. There were all these opportunities too that they could have killed people off. Like when Tormund is being dragged down into the ice, he should have been gone.
Yeah,
When Jon falls through the ice, he should have been gone.
yeah.
If you're gonna put them like in that sort of territory, it's that if
They're not actually. I think overall.
they're teasing potential danger.
Yeah.
But the way the show seems to be these days, unless you die violently on screen and you don't have a head anymore,
Yeah.
you're probably not dead.
I'd say the thing this season has done, it's done really good things, and it's been a very good season in many ways. I think the thing this season and this episode is doing very poorly is it's poorly building suspension and also payoffs.
There's also
the point where-
liberal use of Deus Ex Machina.
Right, and to the point where I'm like, when the dragon got turned, I was like, you didn't build to anything. We all knew that was going to happen.
We did, and I just want to say, we all called it, everybody. This
Right.
was something that we've been debating from the beginning of this season. Either there's a hidden Targaryen somewhere, which we don't think there is. I don't think Tyrion's a secret Targaryen. We don't have the kid from the books who's a secret Targaryen. There was debate about if Cersei was going to bring the Golden Company into it with the mercenaries, with all of her new funds, and then that's how they could bring in the secret Targaryen cousin. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So if we don't have 3 potential dragon riders, then we need to lose a dragon. And that's good for the stakes anyway. It does raise the stakes. It means that now the dragons can't just plow over all the obstacles. Daenerys is now down 33% of her most impressive force.
Yeah, but
Mike Dees in the chat asks, isn't Jon part Targaryen? Yeah, we can absolutely clarify that really quick. Jon is not only part Targaryen, his father was Rhaegar, and we learned in the last episode that he's also not a bastard, that Rhaegar dissolved his previous marriage and married Lyanna in secret, which makes Jon Snow Jon Targaryen. And I think there's a debate right now if his name is actually Jaehaerys or if it's Aegon, potentially. That's his real name. Regardless, he is absolutely Targaryen. He's going to ride. So he's a second rider. So now we have Daenerys and Jon.
Well, yeah,
we have 2 riders.
yeah.
We have 2 dragons.
and that whole him touchy the dragon episode before was definitely showing it's really uncomfortable. Yeah, so he's gonna be a dragon rider. Yeah, I had things about the episode that I like and things about I didn't like, but I'll talk about things I like.
Okay.
All of the interaction that was happening beforehand of Tormund and Hound and the eye patch dude and Jon. Like those were really good conversations and really interesting.
Yeah, I also loved that you get that sense of history. You get the sense that these characters have existed and lived in this world for a long time when you get little notes like, oh yeah, you were such a hero at the Iron Islands, and I remember that was really important to me. He's like, I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
I was drunk.
Yeah.
But this is something that happened 10 plus years ago, and it is both like this heroic thing, but then you see the reality underneath.
Yeah. And John and Jorah got to have their conversation about the sword finally, the elephant in the room of Mormont's dad giving him the sword.
See, I thought that was going to be one of those very foreshadowing moments.
Yeah, whoever didn't get the sword died.
Yeah, exactly. He, with whoever had the sword would live, whoever didn't was going to get axed this episode. So when Jon ended up with it, I thought that meant that this was the end for Jorah. And Jon did make good use of the sword. He did kill one of the White Walkers.
Yeah, really quickly.
And we learned something else about the White Walkers as a result of that, which is that
they sustain the life force of their turn.
Exactly. They're following vampire rules. You kill the one that turned them, then all of them are killed as well, which is good because it means that they only then have to theoretically kill one person in order to end the war.
Again, I'm going to complain about something that scene where they got their White Walker that they tied up. Why was there a separate little party of just a convenient amount of White Walkers off away from all the other White Walkers with a white?
Right.
That
exactly.
were there. Like, oh, good. I'm glad there was a little hunting party apparently scouting ahead or something.
They were looking for mole rats to kill to add to their army. They're just out around the edges. The bear was cool though.
The
Frozen
bear was.
Everyone's after seeing this army a couple times. People were like, "Where are all the animals?" There they are.
The bear was scary. That was a really that was a great scene, and then that was one that was fun to watch the behind the scenes of how they did all of that.
Now, one note. This is coming from Asarasafai in chat. Is that apparently Jon Snow's sword, the pommel, opened an eye. Like it may actually be not. I don't know. I didn't notice that note, but I'm gonna go check it out after this because I think that sounds really, really cool.
It is?
That it blinks.
So what does that mean?
Dunno. Magic? Who knows?
Yeah, people saying that it was a scout party. Why does a just
What are they
slowly
scouting?
moving mass of we kill you and then you become us have to have scouting? They
Right.
haven't shown
They're
any.
headed for the wall.
They
They
literally
control
had their
everything north of the wall.
They had their army just fall over a cliff as a tactic. They're not exactly we're going to be subtle. They're just no, we're a wave. We're a wave of water.
Okay, so now more people in the chat are saying that it looks like it was it might have been like a water drop or something on the eye to give it that effect. But I'd be very surprised if suddenly the swords are, I don't know,
That'd be weird.
thinking like living magical swords. It's
Jon
already
Snow has a Power
it's
Ranger
already
weapon.
magical enough that they can kill the White Walkers.
If they learn to use the swords correctly, they can call their Zords.
No, absolutely not.
That'd be cool.
But overall, I wish more people had died. So out of the Magnificent Seven, and I'm not counting the red shirts because they didn't have names, they didn't have faces, they didn't say anything ever.
They literally killed the least important person of the party.
And yes, then they kill one person and it's Thoros of Myr, which he did get his moment of exposition.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, yeah, okay, Death Watch. And then he was the one who died. But he was also, of all of 7 of those, that had probably the least character development next to Beric, probably. Yeah. Which, by the way, I've gone back. I've started watching the first season again. And you see Ned send Beric off to try to contain the mountain in the Riverlands. And he looks like he doesn't even look like the same person.
Interesting.
It's amazing, seeing him young and fresh faced. Now he's eye patched and he's been resurrected 1 billion times, and he, looking all all gurry.
That's a word.
That's a word, gurry. So it was actually really cool to see that contrast. Now that I'm going back and seeing all the foreshadowing from the first season.
It is a different.
Oh, it's a different actor. That's probably why he looks like a totally different person.
That'd help. They love to do that.
They recast
love to
so
do
much
that.
in this show.
Then another really great scene, I think probably the best scene in the whole episode, was Tyrion's conversation with Dany. Tyrion got his backbone back and got his strategy on with Dany.
Well, see, I worry now about Jon a little bit because he's now bending the knee to Daenerys.
Yeah.
He is submitting to her authority.
Yeah.
We know that Jon is a full-blooded, legitimate Targaryen, and because he's Rhaegar's son, he is first in line for the succession there. Daenerys, by virtue of being Rhaegar's sibling, is second in line. But if Jon is submitting to her, even though they don't know the lineage yet, even though they could later be like, oh, I didn't know, does him bending the knee supersede any future claim he might have?
I think it just sets up the story to have that come to head at some point of this has happened. Jon has submitted to Dany's authority, but then upon the reveal of this information at some point will then require some resolve to be happen, whether Jon continues to submit or it turns into Jon doesn't want to and or should not or whatever. So I think it's just going to come to a head at some point. So I think it's setting up for some sort of discord later on.
They're also absolutely setting up. I mean, they're not even winking. They're not even being subtle anymore about their throwing Jon and Daenerys together in a romance subplot. Not even a little bit. There's no brooding looks, nothing. This is like weeping. They're about to make out all over each other.
He bent the knee on a boat, international waters. There are no international waters in all of Westeros.
Yeah, I don't know that Westeros abides by the international waters rules. But, so that seems, by the way, to me, a little bit rushed. The Jon Daenerys thing. But they do have to get him to a point where she's going to put him on her other dragon.
I think it was soon. I think it was that, like, I think upon her assuring him that it was good that she went because it's something you have to see, and then and then that mixed with the conversation he had with eye patch dude Barrack was, and then also like, you know, near death experience was him coming to that conclusion, like a clarity of mind moment of like, I need to actually, more so his conversation with Tormund's conversation with him about like how Raider, Man's Raider, was
he refused to bend the knee because of his pride.
Was a prideful man.
He got killed as a result.
I think that conversation plus Dany saying that she believes him now was Jon finally going, yeah, I'll follow you. Also, he loves her, so.
Yeah, he's like, what's up, babe? And she's like, you've got scars. I like scars. My last husband had scars.
I think it was more so she was looking at him like more and more of this curiosity of like, you got fucked up at some point. Did you die?
Yeah, so we now know that when they brought him in and he had the hypothermia, they stripped him, and so she's seen the wounds that he has.
Yeah,
she can
like
see
real knife
that him
wounds.
taking a knife to the heart was not a euphemism.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it wasn't like a clever wordplay. No, he actually took a knife to the heart. So I'm very curious how, like, it seems like they're going to address that somehow. Like, because it seems to keep coming up, even like it came up there.
I think it does.
It had been mentioned. Davos mentioned it, and then she asked him about it again. He didn't want to talk about it
because it is very important.
Now she's seen the scar, so it's going to like come into play. But how important do you think those are?
Because in a battle against the undead, someone who has been dead is something that others will question or you be used against them. Especially if you're like Cersei or something like that in the moment where everyone's supposed to be uniting. And fighting against, a single enemy, they could question things like, where do your loyalties lie if you're actually part of the undead? Not that he's actually a White Walker, but that he's someone who died and was brought back by magic,
and that he is therefore sort of on the side of the enemy.
Yeah, so that's something. It's just not that it has to be brought up, but it is like, it's a bullet in the chamber.
Yeah, I agree. That makes a lot of sense. So we saw a little bit of that. The big thing, which we touched on earlier, though, is the loss of the dragon.
Yeah.
And Daenerys was definitely like cut up by that, but you can tell she was like, "Oh, thank God it wasn't Drogon." Which
again,
stupid.
Drogon was such a sad payoff
right there. He was on the ground in front of the Night King, and then he just goes, "No, I'll bet I can hit that one that's flying." Mind you, he does. He's a wonderful lancer or whatever. In fact, the U.S. Olympic team tweeted how much they'd like to have him throwing javelin for
good
them
shot.
because
He didn't even
he's such a good shot.
Yeah. And those ice lances are something of magic because it looked like in a previous scene during the Hardhome, they like could shatter weapons just by touching them.
Oh well, there's a thing with actual like real weapons where if they get too cold, they can get brittle.
Yeah.
So if it's like a super
freeze
super
thing.
ice, I don't know, super magic ice. Why not at this point, right? Then you've seen it shatter weapons.
Yeah.
So it might also have some additional effect for, I don't know, penetration, I guess.
Penetration, yeah, I heard you.
Welcome back to the conversation.
Yeah. Does it feel like they're also keep adding more wights?
You know what I feel like they're adding more White Walkers. Now tell me this. So what's the most of the White Walkers, not the wights, but the White Walkers you've ever seen at once?
Let's say Hardhome.
Right. So there were what? There were 4 at the time, maybe 5.
Wait, sorry. Maybe I'm using the wrong terminology.
You
What's a
probably
wight? What's a White Walker?
So the wights are the zombies.
Okay, then White Walkers.
Walkers are the
That's what I
ones
mean.
that actually have agents.
I meant to say that. Then the White Walkers, it feels like they keep creating more for the sake of the story so that Jon could kill one in the middle of a canyon.
Yes, I agree completely because we saw he killed one this episode. He's killed
one at Hardhome.
He's killed one at Hardhome. He's killed several throughout. And yet, at the end of this episode, there were 5.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like where they come from. Can you get promoted from a zombie?
Well, because they never even like fully.
Okay. I'm being corrected here by
babies.
chat. There were 4 at Hardhome. There were 13 or 12 or 13 when they showed Craster's baby.
Okay.
So
there's
there
a lot
are
of them.
more, but we've only ever seen a certain number at a time, and I don't know why.
Why would there have been 5 standing there? And why didn't the dragons aim at them?
Because we can't have that yet. We have another season to go, John.
I know.
But I am a little bit disappointed that...
So what happens when you use the Deus Ex dragons.
So much of... there's so much that's like, that's the reasoning now. Where before, no one was safe ever.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like if this was...
The one caveat
Yes.
is that we are not done with the season. And the last season, final episode was, literally final scene of the season was, we're going to kill like 8 main characters of this show.
Yeah. Now, I don't... I have been steering pretty clear of like teasers for the next episode.
I haven't watched any.
But my theory is that it's going to be they've got the wight now. They've got it on a ship, and they're going to take it to meet Cersei.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be Lannister. This is going to be Targaryen. This is going to be Stark, all coming together for this.
That's going to be a tense scene.
And there's going to be so this is, I think, a lot of backstabbing. Protecting, so the Lannisters, like, Cersei's gonna backstab. We know that. She's probably gonna try and get everyone there and do another Sept of Baelor. We're going to get Daenerys and Tyrion find out if Tyrion was able to guess Cersei's plans well enough to defend against it. Because he has proven himself to be politically quite savvy, but he's not a combat general.
He prepped Dany so well, though, because like bringing up like her temper a little bit and the fact that Cersei will just push those buttons. Like he was really smart in bringing that up.
But look, Daenerys didn't exactly take the feedback very well.
No, because then she just got on the dragon the next scene.
Right. So we'll see what ends up happening there. I'm very curious that Sansa is sending Brienne. Now I have a theory about that. So what did you think of the confrontation between Arya and Sansa?
It was weird. It was a weird scene. Like, I don't know what the point of the scene was, and I don't know how it ended. Like, it ended with them finding the faces and Arya just like...
Those are my faces.
And then Arya just kind of like backing away without really giving any sort of resolve to the conversation. Other than maybe feeling
it was almost like she was just threatening her a little bit to let her know that she could fuck her up if she wanted to.
And also I feel like them writing in so much discord between the two of them after being so separated for so long and going through so much, it feels a little artificial. Like Arya's being really bitchy to Sansa.
Now, okay, so here's my theory. My theory is that Sansa knows exactly what Littlefinger's doing, and she's playing him. The reason I think that is because a few episodes ago, earlier this season, when she was having a conversation with Arya, she said, anyone who trusts Littlefinger is an idiot.
Yeah.
She doesn't trust him further than she can throw him. So why on earth would Sansa be in a room with Littlefinger, confiding all her fears to him and letting him guide her?
There's a chance that scene was intentional on her part.
I think it absolutely was.
Yeah.
And I think that she's trying, like, she's getting a sense about what Littlefinger is trying to steer her to do, and then doing the opposite. He brought up Brienne, and she immediately sent Brienne away. Like,
Yeah.
I think she sent her out of the crosshairs.
Yeah, maybe.
And
it's-
I don't know where Arya comes into this. I don't know if Arya knows yet.
Are they also just not talking? Like, do none of them know anything about what they did for the past, like, who knows how long this show's been?
Right, like, does Arya have absolutely no idea what Sansa's been through? Because she talks about her like she's a spoiled little princess.
Yeah.
And she's seen some shit.
And then also, like, Arya has told nothing about where she's been and what training she had and what she, like, talk!
Right.
Talk!
Like, okay, fine, you wear faces. Why is your sister surprised by this?
Yeah, those scenes were the most confusing as far as, like, I just don't even know what the point of them was.
Okay, now, Troy Nadal in chat has an alternate theory. He says that Littlefinger said that Brienne's honor bound to intercede if one of the sisters tries to hurt or kill the other, and then Sansa sends Brienne away. So that she could potentially be sending Brienne out of the way in case she needs to clear Arya.
Yeah.
So that Brienne then doesn't have to defend Arya and hurt Sansa. So that is another side of what could be happening.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think the best of Sansa because I think she's a lot smarter than she's acting right now.
Yeah, she is. But even in that scene with her and Arya, she was getting that look on her face and that tone in her voice where she was acting like a impetuous, immature little girl again.
A little bit. Bit.
Arya brought that out of her. I didn't like that.
It is a little bit of a return to that dynamic they have. You know, when you get back together, like, do you ever, like, you go home, you visit family, and you fall into old patterns? Even though, like, you at the time know that, like, you don't act like this anymore. When you're around the same people, like, you just all revert to your roles.
Yeah.
It feels like that's happening a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the Littlefinger story is both intriguing and also annoying.
Right. Do you think he's going to see the end of this season? I mean, he must, because I'm assuming he will, because in order for him to die, because he's not going to he's not going to...
This framing is bothering me so much.
Oh, well. He's not heading off to King's Landing for this big meetup, which means he's back at the north, so the only people that can take care of him is Sansa and Arya.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if they're going to... Like, this next episode, I think, is where they will either get played or play him.
If they also don't do anything worthwhile with Bran by the end of the season, his inclusion in this season just seems pointless.
Yeah, it is weird to me that the person who can see the future and who can see everything and who is right there and could clear everything up for Sansa and Arya is, I don't know, was he chilling under a tree somewhere?
Yeah.
Being ravens?
So that means that if we want to see the resolve we're looking to see by the end of the season, that in one episode we need to see a political gathering that is going to be the biggest political gathering ever. We want to see Littlefinger's story come to some sort of resolve or a new plateau, the next step at the very least. Mm-hmm. And then we got to see like what's going on with Bran.
So we have, yes, we've got that plot needs to have like a bit of a bow in it next episode, I think. We need to have, something is going to happen with the Lannisters. We haven't seen, for a couple of episodes, we haven't seen what Euron is doing with Yara. Like, he took her back to the Iron Islands. What? He rode into the plot, beat the shit out of half of Daenerys' forces, and then rode out of the plot.
Just moonwalked out of it.
Haven't seen him since. So I imagine we should probably see something there, especially if Theon is gonna go and try and stage some kind of daring rescue.
Yeah. It seems devoting an entire episode, almost an entire episode, to this whole White Walker adventure has left the last episode of the season to either have to fill in a lot of stuff or skip a bunch of things and be like, hey, season 8, that's how we're going to resolve it.
Yeah. And
then it's just going to be just the biggest cock tease ever for like an entire season.
For a year, because they're going to start filming soon. But they can't even film yet because it has to be winter. The other thing is we haven't seen Sam. We saw him last episode, but we didn't really see anything of Sam this episode. He's theoretically on the road.
I could see Sam
slower than a raven, I guess.
I could see him not showing up in the next episode, and that being fine. That his arc of this season was the popping of the illusion of this bubble that he had of what the maesters were, leading to him just grabbing a bunch of text and saying peace out and going like, I'm going to live my own adventure. And that was his arc. And then this whole introduction of all this information that he is literally holding in his hand and in his mind is going to be something that'll happen in season 8.
Maybe, but I'd like to at least see,
unless he were to show
where
up,
that information's headed.
Right.
There's
value in that information being brought up to some of the people involved in this political meetup before the meetup. If they were to know some of these things, that's like something to cause like some ruckus. But I think it could be season 8. I think that we might just be done seeing Sam. There's too many people.
I don't think they are going to change this, unfortunately. I don't think they now have time or budget to make any huge shifts in programming. But I really do wish that they would take the next season and add more episodes.
They're not,
because this is a 7-episode season, and this was not enough episodes to drive home distances, time. There are a lot of little details and a lot of little interactions I think we would have had that we didn't get because they had to just keep it moving.
It probably mostly comes down to the fact that this season has had the most action and visual effects invested into it, and so they're like, well, we'll make all really pretty, but we can't afford to make a ton of really pretty.
Right. So I would like some more, honestly, slow talky bits. That's like...
I do too. The audience seems to get really fussy when that happens.
Look, I mean, I don't want them exclusively, but I think that's where a lot of characters in interactions get fleshed out, is just take some time on your horses, have a bit of a scene while you're having a chat, and then that's it. But it at least allows you to then cut away and then cut back to them, and more time has passed.
Or maybe, and with that, being able to marry that with some more intimate action sequences, as opposed to every action sequence being these giant battles, like the loot train, like the frozen lake and everything like that, that we get to some of these more like Brienne versus Hound intimate fight sequences and action sequences. So stuff like that is still very rich with story and tension and payoff, but it doesn't cost a lot of money to have Brienne fight the Hound.
Yeah.
Like Oberyn versus the Mountain. That was like a intimate but very important action sequence that took place in one setting with no CGI or anything needed.
Right, and they had, of course they had extras, they had their scenery, they had all that stuff, but what they didn't have was the sheer scale when you have to get thousands of White Walkers in costume and everything. Of course, and if they're not in costume, then it's with CG, which is an additional cost.
Built that lake. There was a cement thing.
They built that lake?
Yes, they went to Belfast, and they built it's not a lake. They painted a lake, but that whole set was, to a certain extent, practical.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's insane.
So that's where the money's going into, is that, and then then they got to do all these visual effects with all these white moments and all these dragon moments and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a lot of money.
So quick question for you guys, those who are watching: what is it that you want to see out of the season finale? Good question is even what can you wait? What do you find with waiting on? What do you want to see? What are you okay? What do you want to see? But maybe season 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then it's more so we have all this list of all these things we want to see. Maybe you can answer both: what you want to see and what you're fine with waiting for. Sex? We've had very little sex.
A lot of people are. Yeah, there hasn't been nearly as much. I again was watching the.
But
first
everyone's
season.
in a war.
Everyone is naked first season. Hodor's naked first season.
Yeah.
You see naked
Dany.
Daenerys a couple of times. Then they all must have got their nudity clauses. So a lot of people are saying they want to see the White Walkers taking the Wall, which I think will be an epic occasion because they have to, right? You have to use the Wall.
Which I don't think it'll be this season.
I think the Wall coming down could be
A big season
could
ender.
be the thing, the scene that they end on. Think this.
Yeah, yeah,
Imagine this.
that could totally
Imagine
be
you get,
that could totally be an ender.
You get the political thing, and a bunch of people die,
Sex costs too much.
and then so all the people die, and you're left just absolutely devastated.
Yeah.
And the last shot of the season is the Wall coming down because
Yeah.
they found the horn or whatever,
Yeah.
or the ice froze. They walked around the thing. But the point is, they have to get beyond the Wall. The stakes need to go up.
Would you rather have that be if Ashley gets to pick, she gets to tick on a box, what's the last scene of the episode of the season? Would you rather have that, or would you rather see the build up and payoff of Jon and Dany finally doing the nasty?
I would rather the final scene be the Wall.
I'd rather see Jon and Dany do
Daenerys,
it.
I think like that's gonna happen. That's fine.
Just
That's gonna be really
Kit
awesome.
Harington disrobing and being like, yes,
But
cut to black.
For me, that's not gonna be like the season gap
It could
moment
be.
to me.
It could be.
Well-
they could have sex for a whole gap season.
A whole gap. This is a long sex. So
Sex on the wall.
would love to see that. Oh, there's a theory. I've been developing a theory. It probably exists elsewhere as well on
Nope,
why
just you.
the White Walkers have taken so damn long. So here's my theory.
They were.
And this-
I have a theory as well. So you
Okay.
you do yours.
So season 1, there's a story that old Nan tells Bran when he's in bed.
Yeah.
And she talks about.
Did she die?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, everyone died.
Okay.
I mean, if you knew them and they're from Winterfell, they probably died. I mean, they cut off the Septa's head. Anyway, the story she tells him involves the last time the White Walkers invaded.
Yeah.
Very foreshadowy, and that there was a long night. Like there was a year
So
where
they
the
have-
sun didn't come up. Think
Yeah.
if they're like far north, and then
Yeah.
you get the middle of winter, and sometimes the sun just doesn't come up. Well, this is a year without sun, and so people were born and grew up, and everything. They never saw it, and that's when the White Walkers came. I think they need deep winter.
So, like,
winter has come,
like
but
7
it may
Days to
not
Die
be
rule,
deep
they
enough
needed to go night.
to support all of the Whites and White Walkers yet. So that's why they may have been coming south slowly as the season got deep enough
Yeah.
to support them.
My theory is that it's taken them this long because they had to keep stopping to forge giant chains. Takes a while. Gotta find the scrap metal. White Walkers having to learn how to smelt stuff without fire. That's difficult.
Yeah, they just had to slowly bend them.
Yep,
It's
so-
from all the swords they broke off of people with their magic ice lances. All right, so we're seeing Ryan Land says I want to see snow in King's Landing. That'd be a cool look.
Oh, like that, just like the falling of it at the end of the episode and that kind of thing?
That would
That'd
be
cool.
yeah. Attractionaire says maybe it'll snow in King's Landing next episode. Can you imagine the first flakes falling down as they bring in this white? That would be cool.
So we got one more episode. I'm very sad, and the next episode of this.
Yes. So, a couple points of housekeeping. I probably should have done this earlier, but a couple points of housekeeping. Next week, a couple of us are going to be on the road.
Yeah.
So we might take this show on the road too.
Yeah,
I might just grab some mics and
on
some ring lights
location.
and do it. Yeah, do it where we are, because I don't want to wait until Friday when we're
Yeah.
back in the office to do
Yeah.
it, because I won't be able to contain myself that long. So we might just do it remotely, and that'll be fine. We can, as long as you've got internet, we can do this. That's fine.
What's the chance we have the budget for next year? Is that we film this in Norway where they're filming this stuff, or Ireland where they're filming this stuff?
John, we don't have a budget for this.
Damn it!
We use our news camera with a single shot, and we use OBS to stream it.
I like Ed Sheeran kills Cersei Lannister in the season finale.
I love it. Yes, let's see that. A Views from New York City says, I want to see an SNES Classic pre-order in King's Landing. Very topical.
Yeah.
Very topical. Still hurts.
All right.
Still hurts. All right, so we will check in with you guys next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, what we need to figure out is, I don't know about you, but I've enjoyed doing this show a great deal. It's nice to just sit down and talk about something that's topical, that we can do full spoilers on, and really get into.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know everything every time. Obviously, we're not experts. We just enjoy the show.
Speak for yourself.
Okay. I'm not experts, but I just really enjoy the show and I like talking about it and nerding about it and having theories. So I wonder, I'd love to do one of these for Westworld, but that doesn't come back until spring. But that's such a great show to theorize heavily every single episode. And then I wonder if there's another show that we can all watch together and talk about in the meantime.
I love that.
So if you guys have suggestions, please tweet us because chat goes away once the live stream ends and we won't be able to access it anymore.
We're hitting fall, and so we're hitting at a point where new seasons and stuff are going to start coming out. So we might just want to look at what's coming up and see what's something's going to be going on during fall and winter that we could supplement with.
Yeah, and if we choose not to do certain shows, it's probably not because we hate the show. It may be because we don't feel educated enough to really theorize on it. Like we've been watching Game of Thrones for X many seasons now, and still I sometimes have to go down the list and check people's names. So give us a little bit of that. Just be understanding if we don't choose the show, but we definitely want to talk about ones that we can dig into, have fun, get a little bit spoilery, all watch together like a TV club.
Yep.
And so we'll start figuring that out as this particular season comes to an end.
Sounds good. I'm down for that. All right,
we'll see you guys next week. It's going to be a big friggin' week, you guys. I'm so excited. All right, and we will see you then, okay?